Armstrong, what a worker he is. Striding away there with Hamilton to his right. Norman Whiteside up on the far side of the area. Still Billy Hamilton, he's got past Tendilio. And Armstrong! Northern Ireland have scored through Jerry Armstrong. They've won the group. Northern Ireland go into the second phase against all the odds.
But I wasn't the only footballer from the Falls Road who made a bit of a name for himself. It's now a shopping centre, but at one time it was paradise and home to one of Belfast's best known football teams.
The people would have crawled down on their hands and knees here to fill Celtic Park. There could have been 20 or 30,000 people at the matches.
Who played for Belfast Celtic then in those days?
Well, there was a whole conglomeration. You could walk for 2 miles down this road and gather a pool of players. I mean, I could mention some of them to you, the like of Jimmy McAlinden,
Right.
Mickey Hamill, the two Vernons, Harry and Jackie. And you come over here, you have Paddy Bonner, who lived a few yards over here, and Johnny Reddicks. And across the road here, you had the inimitable Charlie Tully.
Yeah. He was one of my old managers at Bangor.
Was that right?
And I remember Jackie Vernon, he was the butcher, wasn't he?
That's right,
Yeah.
Sausage Vernon, yeah. Great player.
And Jimmy, Ron Greenwood, the ex-England manager, he actually played for Belfast Celtic as well.
He played for Belfast Celtic when he was an RAF man over stationed in Mahara.
Great memories. I've nearly reached the end of my journey and nearly the final bit of the Falls. But there are still a few things to discover about the history of this famous road.
I remember St Louise's girls, or the Brown Bombers as they were called then. I used to see a lot of them when I came down from St Thomas's School down the Falls Road. Kate McCartney, the famous opera singer, and Geraldine Hughes, the actress, were both former pupils at St Louise's, but probably the most famous character was the principal, Sister Genevieve. She really was legendary. Now, my father taught her to drive, but please don't hold that against me. Now, she's gone, sadly, along with a lot of other famous people from the Falls Road, but their stories can still be found in here.
Belfast City Cemetery is huge, so you really need a guide to help find the stories. Councillor Tom Hartley runs tours of both Milltown and city cemeteries, where there is even evidence of religious division.
The way they had decided previous to the opening of the cemetery to separate out Catholics and Protestants was to build an underground wall. And what people think is a path here is in fact an underground wall. It's 9 feet deep, it's a dry stone wall, and it goes down to the depth of the graves in this section of the cemetery.
And some of the most famous Belfast names can be found here.
At this end of this plot here, you have Thomas Gallagher of Gallagher Tobacco, and over here then you've got Harlands of Harland and Wolff. And really, in life, they're a very small elite club, and they manage and control everything. And in death, they're the same. They're all together in death. And in this one section, you get all these industrialists. And in our terms, these people were multi-millionaires.
The graveyard is full of some of the most ornate headstones and sculptures, and a few surprising ones as well.
But look at the column. You would think the column has been vandalised, but in fact this is a broken column, which either symbolises a young life cut short, or indeed a family tree that has come to the end, you know, a family that has ended. And so you get a sense of sadness in the death of this soldier. Now, he's a member of the Black Watch, and you know where he was stationed in Belfast. He was stationed at Willowbank, where you'll remember is the wee park.
The wee park, not too far from Beachmid Avenue.
Yes, but that at the turn of the 19th and 20th century, there used to be a British Army base there, and as a member of the Black Watch, he was stationed there.
And the place is full of unusual stories.
One of those buried here in this cemetery is a man called Richard Rutledge Kane, who's a minister in Christchurch at the corner of College Square North and Durham Street.
Yeah.
And he was very big orange figure. He was very senior in the Orange Order, but really a complex man because he was an Irish speaker. And when the Gaelic League began in Belfast, he is down as one of its sponsors.
A tour of the city cemetery with Tom takes hours. Such is the wealth of information there. And the same is true of Milltown Cemetery, just across the Falls Road.
What you'll see in here is that there's a very, very different feel to this cemetery. In the city cemetery, you see the history of power and wealth. In this cemetery, this is the history of the Northern Nationalist and Catholic population. And generally speaking, what you see is the history of rebellion. This is one of a number of Republican monuments here in Milltown Cemetery. It's called the McKelvey plot after Joe McKelvey, who was executed on the 8th of December 1922, and he was a prisoner in Mountjoy Jail, and he was executed by the Free State. But here also you have the name of William Harbison, and William Harbison was a military Fenian. That means he was in the British Army while he was a Fenian. So really what you have is a panoramic view of the IRA in Belfast from the 1860s right through to the 1940s. But the history really bubbles up in a very odd way, and you need to know where to look for it. So let me show you around the corner here. These were all military Fenians, but look what it says, officers of the United States Army. And these were Irish Americans who had gone, probably immigrated to North America, and then had come back, or were sent back by the Fenian movement in the 1860s. This is the new plot, and this contains the remains of the IRA volunteers of the generation from the 1970s onwards. So the history of the two cemeteries is a reflection of the contested political space that you find in the political domain outside of the two cemeteries.
One symbol of the political dimension, just across the road from Milltown, also has a fascinating history, and maybe a few secrets still to be revealed.
Andersonstown Barracks, Jerry, is here about 60 years. I mean, it was predeceased by an older station on up the road, which became known as Barrack House, the old Hannistown Royal Irish Constabulary Station. But basically, there are layers of history here. I mean, if we look at the townland name on the old maps, this barracks is in the townland of Ballydownfine, from the Irish meaning Ballydownfine, the townland of the White Fort. And that tells us there was always some kind of fortification here.
White Fort Inn, not
White
too
Fort Inn
far away.
was nearby, preserving the name, but also just about sort of 10, 20 yards from where we're standing now, in the 19th century, there was a grassy hill known as Calendar's Fort. Old people still remember it. And it wasn't so much a fort as the site of a medieval church, probably from the kind of 14th, 15th century. It was known as the Church of Crumach, and it was one of 6 churches attached to Belfast's main church in medieval times, Shankill, the old church on the Shankill Road. Right. And we know this church, which stood here, was associated with both Shankill and also the old abbey in Bangor. I mean, we're going right back, 600-700 years.
Lots of history.
Lots of history. And in fact, when they cut the old road here in the 19th century, they found loads of human bones from the cemetery.
So the past meets the present, from the ancient times to the colour and spectacle of the internationally acclaimed Féile here in the Falls Park, where I spent many's a happy day. It's a sign of the times now in the Falls Road of the 21st century, but this will always be home to me, and the memories will never fade. OK, Stephen, thanks for your help today, but it's time to go.
And that programme replaced the schedule Sons of Ulster, which has been postponed to a later date. Tomorrow night, Bits of Belfast continues as Wayne McCulloch makes his way up the Shankill Road. That's at 10:35 here on BBC One. What do you love? Where do you like to go? And